welcome to the third episode of Pretty Please. This is the podcast where we talk about all things feeling, looking your best, what it means for you to feel pretty from the inside out. And of course, that's something different for everybody. So I'm so excited today to have Lena Dunny here. She is going to talk about actually all things health, wellness, community, building her own brand from the ground up and what that whole entire process looks like for her. So I'm so excited to get into it. Let's start by just give everyone an idea of who you are, where you're from, what your childhood was like.
So I feel like it's always such a loaded question with me. I'm born here in the US. I've been back and forth my whole life between Macedonia and here at Fort Lauderdale, Florida. I'm from a little itty bitty town. It's called Ohrid. It's a beautiful town that sits on a lake. It's very, very quaint and small and just, that typical European town that's on the water that you see that's just pretty and beautiful. And I definitely very much so still like have my culture and my DNA as much as I am born here. At home, we only spoke Macedonian. Um, we learned how to read and write in that language. The different alphabet. It's just a completely different world than the U.S. altogether. Um, I want to say like when I turned 18 and when I went off to college, I for the first time really got a taste of American culture, I should say. Because even though I would live in America, like my parents were always hanging out with other, old Yugoslavia. Old Yugoslavia is like Serbian, Croatian, Macedonian, obviously, et cetera, et cetera. We only hung out with people from our culture. So when I was 18, I kind of like got to finally branch out and go out on my own. It was my first time to really, really, really hang out with like Americans and not obviously just Americans. Being in South Florida, it's a melting pot. So, you got your Hispanics, you got the Caribbean. So I finally got to hang out with everyone. And I realized like how sheltered I was for a really long time. And, as awesome as it is where I'm from, and I'm very proud of where I'm from, I kind of felt like, oh, I wish they had allowed me to do it as a kid because I just feel like I looked at the world through like a very, very different filter and I was very judgy as a teenager, like going into my 20s. I was like, oh, like they're not like prim and proper. Like, why aren't they doing things properly? Whatever that may be. And I finally learned how to like quote unquote let loose. So I definitely was a child that was a rebel. I did things my way. My parents, probably envisioned me to be a lawyer or a doctor. My brother is an electrical engineer, so he definitely followed that path. I graduated with my degree in business and I started with it was Michael Kors in Chicago was my first like big job, I should say career move. I graduated actually before that. I graduated, I became a banker. That's what it was. I was a personal banker and I was like, this is so boring. Like this is just so boring. Like I can't see myself going up the ranks in this. So I got a position, it was during the recession. I got a position at Michael Kors in downtown Chicago as a general manager of the store. And that was huge at the time. Um, and quickly just moved my way up to the last position I held was regional director at Louis Vuitton. So it was a wonderful experience. It was a wonderful, like, it was a good, like, decade of my life where I learned a lot about the corporate life, like doing things in a very structural way. And when I finally walked away, my family was like, what are you doing? Because here I am leaving this 6-figure salary, telling them I'm unhappy. Like, I'm really unhappy. I was depressed. During this time, I had already gotten married. I had already had a child. Um, and I kind of just wanted to like check off the boxes, right?
Mhm.
Especially coming where I came from, like you had to get married, you had to have a kid. And as much as my mom wants to say, I didn't put that pressure on you, she absolutely put that pressure on me. And obviously, from a perspective of how she grew up, right? So, to no fault on anyone's, like it just was the way things were at that time. And I was, again, very much, you know, encompassed in that culture. And I wanted to make sure to make everyone happy. As much as I seemed like the rebel at the end of the day, I still wanted my parents' approval, right? So I was 25 when I got married. I was 26 when I had my son, which is like unheard of in today's day and age. Like I feel like that's like the new 16-year-old that got pregnant and got
Yeah.
married, right? But yeah, and I was, like I said, married, had a child that I never saw because I was constantly traveling. Would see him on FaceTime as a baby, and I was like, this isn't it. Like, I don't know what is it, but this definitely isn't it. And we had purchased our first home. We went balls to the wall like entrepreneurs. We sold our home. We quit all of our jobs. And we had a kid and we were like, we don't know what we're going to do, but we're investing all of this. We sold a nice big home to go in a 1,000 square foot apartment in downtown Chicago and started three different businesses. And we were like gambling. We were like, well, one of these has got to work.
Yeah, let's just like play the odds. Let's
Literally, like, I mean, we were so young. We were 29, 28, 29 years old.
wow.
And like it was definitely a ballsy move because I had a kid, right? It's a little different when you don't have children. Like I hate to say it, like you don't have to worry about that extra amount to feed.
Yeah.
But I was doing this with a kid on my shoulder, right? And
Yeah.
not a big kid, a little one. So it's definitely traumatized from it, but hopefully he's building thicker skin. I don't know. Um, but yeah, we invested in three different businesses. One was a logistics company. The second was a fur and leather company that we were, I'm sorry, bringing things over from Europe. And the third one was a European auto shop. So out of all three, just to fast forward, only one succeeded, and that was the European auto shop that we still have here in right here in downtown Fort Lauderdale. And it's also like an ode to my father because he's the one that originally opened it and I purchased it from him with my husband. So it's kind of like maybe we invested most of our time there because it was like we can't let the family name down or something. At least that's how I feel it was for
Yeah, you
me.
have to keep it going.
Yeah, I was like, there's no way everything else can crash and burn. I was like, I can't let something that my dad worked so hard on like fail.
Mhm.
So that's still standing, and that's what was paying all of our bills. And amidst all of this, if it weren't hectic already, my brother got very sick from cancer. My other two businesses failed. And all of a sudden now I am practicing Pilates to keep sane. And that was like around when I had just turned 30. Like I started doing Pilates. But I was 185 pounds. I was so unhappy. I didn't know what was going to make me happy because I kept saying, like, I did all the things. Like, I graduated college. I got married. I had the kid. I had the big, beautiful wedding. Like, what's wrong with me? I have the job with the six figures. You told anyone back then you worked for LVMH? It was like, what? And you left that job? What's wrong with you?
Mhm.
So here I was, you know, in search of the pursuit of happiness, looking for it in things, in people, all while realizing that it was always within me. And that's something that I do want to highlight, as we speak about everything as we go on in our conversation. Um, since it is a beauty podcast, I am very much, you had mentioned before we started filming, I am very much someone who believes that beauty does come from within.
Mm.
And like you said, we'll get into what that means. But yeah, started doing Pilates, didn't know it at the time, but I was just doing it to get my mind off of everything. Like it was just my 1 hour on the mat, going to a Pilates studio, leaving it all there, and I just felt better. And I was like, for the first time ever, mind you, just to be clear, so I'm this 185-pound woman in Europe.
Mhm.
Okay, so Europe, 100 pounds, you're like a medium. Like that's what
Yeah.
you're considered in Europe. Okay, 100 pounds, you're a medium.
Yeah.
Like that's just the realism of it.
Right.
And I remember there was like 15, 20 other girls in the class at the time. And I was so embarrassed to walk in. But my aunt like had introduced me to the place and I was like, whatever, I'm just gonna walk in, ignore everyone in the room, and I beelined always to the back of the room. And there was like this one mat in the back, and I would just practice. I wouldn't say hi to anyone. Talk about complexities. Like, wouldn't say hi to any of the other girls, not the instructor, no one for 4 months. I
Wow.
didn't say hi to anyone. The instructor finally came over to me and was like, "Hi, like, I see you here all the time. What's the
Who
deal?"
are you?
Yeah, who are
Yeah.
you? Well, I had surpassed everyone in the class. I I was so like, like a horse. Like I just was not looking left or right. Like I was like, I'm gonna lose this way. I'm gonna find out what it is that's making me unhappy and I'm gonna change it around. I lost at the time 60 pounds. Like I just dropped it. I had changed my lifestyle. I had started being like not just physically active, on the mat, but I was going for morning walks, like just doing all the things that I was supposed to for me before like the whole self-care phrase came about.
Right.
Like there was no self-care. Like there and back in the day, my mom, I remember, was always like, it's not about you. Nothing is
Right.
about you.
Right.
You have a husband, you have a child,
Mhm.
and that's what it's about. It's about your family and work and providing, and nothing else matters. What you have and your feelings do not matter.
Yeah, just about like pushing forward and providing for everyone around you, getting through the day,
Oh my God.
doing what you're supposed to be doing, whatever that means. And for a lot of different families, like that's like different definitions, right? But it's like kind of all the same. Like if you are taking literally just a second to step back and
Just a
say,
second.
how am I literally feeling today? Like, what am I actually doing for myself? Then that can compound.
Oh, well, it did.
Yeah.
And especially, again, coming from an Eastern European culture of it doesn't matter what you feel as a woman. Your needs come last. Like they just did. It's the truth. I don't care who I'm gonna, ignite with that, but it's true. Our culture
Mhm.
is very much, is the man happy? Are the children taken care of? And if they are, then you as a woman have done your job.
You should feel fulfilled from that alone.
Correct.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
I kept saying like this can't be it. Like
Yeah.
I was like, this can't be the happiness that everyone's been talking about, right? At least not for
Yeah.
me. If that I'm not that's not to say that doesn't make someone else happy,
Yeah.
and to each their own. But I was miserable.
But I love that you realized that, kind of sooner rather than later. Like you weren't like in your 50s, 60s saying like, oh my gosh, all this time has passed. And like, I feel,
I'm happy I
a
was
little
30 and
trapped.
yes,
Yeah,
30 and
exactly.
realized it. I
Yeah.
was 30 years old, which, you know, I was like looking at American culture of women or women that have been born here and truly raised in the system. And I was like, you would see them, they would drop off their kids and, you would hear they went to yoga or
Yeah.
whatever they were doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, my mom, never did that for herself. But my mom was also, I hate to say it, my mom was miserable. My mom was miserable in moving here. So she had met my father overseas
Hmm.
back home. And my father was a very good looking man. And she was this beautiful girl. And they just got married at the time. She was way too old to have gotten married. She was a whole 28. She
Yeah.
was too old to have got, yeah, she was a whole 28. She was so old for back in the day that she just kind of like also jumped into a marriage just to be like, okay, I did it, checked it off the list. And here I was repeating the same thing over and over again. But I'm like, it's 20, whatever it was, 2010. I'm still repeating these like old cultural, deep rooted, messed up values. Like for what?
Yeah.
And again, like I just didn't know. I just knew that I was making everyone in my family was upset.
Right.
I've actually had to distance myself so much from all of my family, which makes me very sad. Not just I when I say family, I know in America it's typically like mom, dad, brother, sister, and that's
Right.
it.
Immediate family.
Yeah,
Yeah.
immediate family. For us, family is like I grew up with like my grandparents in the same home back home,
Hmm.
in this beautiful home that was on a farm in a beautiful village. Like it was literally like out of a dream. My childhood was literally like out of a dream.
Hmm.
Um, got to play with my cousins on the street anytime we wanted. Like were able to go walk over to the lake and go swimming like whenever we wanted to. Go over to the ocean whenever we wanted to as a family, like family trips. I can't say anything about my parents like providing me and having that childhood. But like
Right.
that whole women are supposed to do X, Y, Z, be there for the family, and the man can just, he gets to go just be, he gets to choose his job of his dreams, and he all he needs to do is provide.
Right.
While we have to do, I don't even necessarily need to provide. I just need to be here as a maternal figure for kids, for the family. Everything is for the family. The mother, the wife, the female figure is for the family. And while I did that for so long, meaning like even as a child, like I always feel like I was definitely the glue in my family because I always wanted to make everyone laugh and make them happy.
Mhm.
And I just realized it came to a point where anything I ever did, it was never enough. And I was still considered the black sheep of the family. I was always the black sheep of the family. Out of all
Little
my
rebel.
cousins, yeah, 1,000%. Out of all my cousins, out of everyone, I was always the one. They were like, she just doesn't listen. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Like that I don't listen. And I'll never forget, we went once. This is before therapy was like a thing, right? My mom was like, you need to go see a therapist because you're a horrible daughter. I'll never forget. She said it to me. I was 26 at the time. My son was like a few months old. I was going through postpartum. Postpartum was still a taboo subject.
Right.
And she was like, you need to go see a therapist. I said, only if you come with me. And she was like, okay, let's go. I will never forget that day. We walk into the room. The therapist goes to my mom, like, well, why are we here? And my mom starts saying, well, she was a horrible daughter. And the therapist goes, well, okay, well, explain to me what made her horrible. And she was like, well, she never listened. She always like would sneak out. She was always lying. Like we always caught her in her lies. She would skip school, whatever, all the things I did.
Mhm.
Right. And the therapist was like, okay, she's like, I'm going to have to pause you right there. She's like, I have some questions. She goes, did she go to school? Yes. Did she have good grades? Yes. This is she directly directed to my mom. I'm not saying a word.
Mhm.
She goes, she went to college. Yes. She graduated. Yes. She has a husband. Yes. She has a son. Yes. I'm sorry. Where in this picture do you have a bad dog?
Mhm.
And I literally remember my mom got so upset. She couldn't even handle it. She just got up and left. And I just followed her. I was like, thanks. I was like, this is great. um, and it's unfortunate, to this day, me and my mom have a very rocky relationship just because not just me and my mom, me and my entire family have a very rocky relationship because I'm still frowned upon the fact that I do venture out into what I want to do. And they view that as selfish versus as me viewing it as I have to do this to stay alive mentally,
Right.
like to be okay with myself. And yeah, only I wasn't even speaking to my parents up until 6 months ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I wasn't even speaking to them at all again because whatever their beliefs are, they're hard in their beliefs, and that's that.
Mhm.
You're not allowed to talk back, speak back, which I agree with. Like as a child, like I have children. My children need to
Yeah.
have a
Of
sign of
course.
respect.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But you also have to respect your child. And I never, ever, ever got that from my parents. It was always, you stay quiet, no matter what, whether we're right or wrong, you
Mhm.
have to stay quiet.
Mhm.
And I just never did. And that's what made me a bad kid. And if that's what made me a bad kid and a bad adult, then I guess I am. And I'm okay with it. I'm finally, after like years of therapy by myself, fine with it.
Yeah. Well, having a strong sense of independence is actually really difficult, I think, for women to get to a place like that. And it's always evolving too, whatever that means. But I
Yeah.
feel like every single day, honestly, you have to work on it because we have, you know, complex emotions. We have a lot going on. We have a lot to juggle, a lot to take care of. And then I think it's always a struggle to say, okay, well, I'm just gonna do what I want to do, even though it feels like the whole entire world literally is telling me what I should be doing
Is against
and
me,
how I should
literally.
feel doing it. Yeah, I mean, really, I think society tells us, to do things a certain way, fall into certain boxes, act a certain way, have a certain job, have a certain career, whatever it might be. I mean, there's just a lot of noise, is the point, I think.
Yep.
And it's just coming at you from all angles, whether it's from literally like media or school or your family. I think every woman out there could relate to the fact that they were kind of told to be one way, but they felt truly that they should be another way. They felt like a different person.
Yep.
So it takes a long time. I think like from 25, age 25 in general to age 30 is like really pivotal
Mm-hmm.
for women to, it's totally okay to be like, I am this person who I was raised to be. And, I want to have a good relationship with my family and I'm trying my best and I'm trying to do all the things, get my education, trying to forge a good foundation. At that point in life at 25 is when, at least for me, I'm the same as you. I was kind of like, okay, I've done everything so far, but it's not making me feel how I thought I would feel.
You check the boxes,
Yeah.
and you were like supposed to be fulfilled from these boxes.
Yeah, exactly. And, their life is just so much more complex than that. So it's okay to take a step back and be like, okay, let me just reevaluate and let me pivot and let me I love that you just implemented something so simple as just going to Pilates. I want to go back to that because
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be like you flip your whole life upside
No.
down necessarily. You can keep the job that you have, but you could start a little side hustle or pick a hobby that you want to have or pick a few habits that you're going to implement in your life to make yourself healthier, for example.
I never knew, like, I never even imagined that such a simple thing, such as, me going. At first, in the beginning, it was always, I feel like it's always for every woman is, oh, the physical. Like, I want to look good, right? I was
Yeah.
at that age where I was like, oh, it matters the most to look good and whatever, whatever.
Yeah.
And I quickly realized, I'm very happy I realized that the strength that I felt, like from, I kept inching forward, inching forward, inching forward. I started doing um, yoga, which quite to everyone's disbelief, I feel like in the US, everyone thinks that yoga is so easy. Um, a true practitioner of yoga knows that yoga is actually one of the hardest things to learn. And from, creating that strong core, I wanted to like still continue challenging myself. So I started doing yoga. I started doing asanas, Ashtanga yoga, which is I didn't know at the time, but considered one of the most challenging and disciplined yogas of all the yogas.
Okay.
And then I went into aerial yoga. Um, Anything that just made me keep forging forward. I found it in general.
Right.
And always sticking to the Pilates. The Pilates never went away for some odd reason. I don't know if it was like I had connected to whenever I was very, very sad. I was like, okay, I know that this is going to make me happy. Even if it's for an hour, it's going to make me happy. So
Yeah.
even if I did yoga, even if I did weightlifting, even if I went running, I would do Pilates that same day as well. It didn't matter. So for about 5 years straight, I can say that rain or shine, it didn't matter. My brother has been sick for now 5 years now from cancer, and there was not a day that, as bad as it was with him, as bad as it was within my marriage, as bad as it was within my family, there were days I did not want to get up, guys. Like I know that feeling of questioning, why am I here? Why, like, is this it? Is this it? Being so in such a deep, 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 dark depression. I mean, I was on Xanax, I was on antidepressant, I was something else that was a sleeping pill. My mother also had cancer within in this small time frame between 30 and 37. All of this transpired. Sorry.
Yeah.
All of this
Meanwhile, you're
transpired.
trying to find out who you want to be in this world and then
Yeah.
you have all these other circumstances happening around you, so obviously that's a lot.
Yep.
I think it can be really easy when you feel overwhelmed or I mean I just talk to so many women that just don't know who they want to be when they grow up,
Yep.
and that's fine. And I can relate to that too, and I think it's just an ongoing process, but it's so easy to be kind of like I kind of like spiral out of control sometimes, and I get all these ideas and I'm a very creative person, so I just I'm constantly thinking of new things and it's so easy to get overwhelmed and then kind of just sink back and almost like be frozen. It's like analysis paralysis almost,
Yep.
where you're just like, I want to do all these things. And it's great to be driven and to have drive and to constantly have new ideas and things. But I've learned to take a step back, but also try to pick one thing, try to pick one avenue, and try to just build off of that.
Yep.
Don't
Well,
overwhelm yourself.
yes, while like trying to do all of these things, like I said,
Yeah.
the only constant was Pilates.
Yeah, I love that you just stuck with it. There's tenacity there.
Yeah.
You kept moving like literally physically and mentally
Mm-hmm.
through day after day.
Day after day.
And that builds like really strength, mental strength, and
Mm-hmm.
then physically you're feeling better. So it's like 2 for 1 there. And I
Yep.
think that builds the complete package of what it sounds like that you feel like that meant to feel pretty.
Yep.
That's just a really broad word that I just love to use because it just has been thrown around for years,
Yep.
obviously. And who doesn't want to feel pretty, you know? And I think like for you, it wasn't about having the glamorous job, a lot of money, big house. Those things are great. Like who on paper wouldn't want those, like you said?
Yep.
Nobody's going to say, no, not for me. No thanks.
Yep.
I mean, but for you, it's like you would think, okay, glitz and glamour, going to this high powered job, nice office,
And you
traveling
used to think that
around.
that's what made me pretty or
Yeah,
what made
like
me
I
feel
wanted to
better.
wear like a really cool
Yeah.
pantsuit, like be on a private jet,
Yep.
like that to me was like an image of real success. Like, but
Correct.
things change and that's okay to
Mm-hmm.
change your mind. You don't have to pick one thing and stick with it your whole entire life. You could say, okay, you know what? Been there, done that. And it's
Literally.
okay. I just didn't really, it's not for me.
Literally, like what you just said, I remember I don't have my old Instagram posts like back in the day, but they're archived. They're somewhere in deep in there. And those like stories that pop up of a past time. And one recently popped up, and it's funny that you mention it. It was me in this like beautiful suit with this like gorgeous coat, floor length, traveling to New York City. It was for work. It was always for work.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, wow, this is it. Like, this is what's going to make me the happiest ever.
Yeah.
And, looking back as I don't even recognize that girl anymore. Like, I don't even know who she is. And, looking at her, I'd be like, she was beautiful. She had everything going for her. But looking at her, knowing what she was feeling inside, I was like, I don't ever want to be her again. And yes, to your point, Pilates made me feel like I could fly. Like I can't explain it. It gets me emotional. Like I could fly. I could do anything. On that mat, I wasn't mom. I wasn't a daughter. I was me, and I was able to do anything I wanted to do. And I never thought about it that way until I just said it. But yeah, I got to be Elena and not judged. And it was awesome. It was awesome to say it in the most layman terms that I can. In the middle of, me and my husband separated. We almost got divorced. And again, still was doing Pilates. And then I started teaching it during that time frame is when I really, really got into, well, number one, I didn't think I was capable of teaching it. The instructors that were watching me, they were like, you teach? And I was like, no way. I was like, no way.
Yeah.
They're like, I'll never forget one instructor said to me, she goes, instructors like us are fearful of students like you. And I was like, what do you mean fearful? Like, maybe I used the wrong word. She was like, intimidated. And I was like, even so, I was like, why? She's like, because Elena, she goes, you know everything when it comes to Pilates.
Okay, so I love that you were starting in the back of the class, not a confident person, not confident in your own skin, kind of that person it seems like that just doesn't really want to look in the mirror at yourself. Started with the one thing and then gradually, I love that the instructors were kind of there to be like, hey, you're really good at this. Good for them. That's nice of them to like
Absolutely
reach out to you and like make a change in someone's life and kind of help you with that confidence boost that you needed to get to the point where now you're teaching Pilates. So how did you feel when you were teaching versus being a student?
So when I started to teach is when I realized like I tapped into like I felt like that was my superpower and I didn't even know. And I was so passionate about it that I wasn't like the bubbly instructor. Like, but none of my instructors were either. Again, I was in Eastern Europe. You have that in Eastern European vibe,
Of course.
that Iron Curtain vibe. And um, that's just how I was. And whenever I would start the class, I always would be like, guys, like, this isn't going to be easy, but I promise you it'll be worth it. And I kind of kept that mantra for everything in life. Because think about it, everything that you've ever gained in life, I'm positive it wasn't easy, right?
Right.
So when I started to teach and when I started to give insight to my students, letting them know that as hard as you think that this is, if I could have done this and get to this level, you're 10 steps ahead of where I was, you know? And letting them know, giving them that insight into who I was, they would be like, you're right. Like, why can't I do this? Like, if you can do it, I can do it.
Yeah.
And when I started to realize that I was kind of like creating this movement, um, which was, if I'm being really honest, I only realized that I was creating this movement and that I was tapping into my quote unquote like inner power
Mhm.
was only maybe like a year and a half. Like I had zero confidence, sad to say, up until about a year and a half ago.
So you were just in a place where you wanted to just genuinely help others in the way that you were kind of helped from maybe some of your
Correct.
instructors. And you just kind of, without really realizing, inched your way up to literally, figuratively, like the front of the room.
Yep.
And then before you knew it, you were an instructor. And then, so from there, you're now influencing other people.
Mm-hmm.
And then at what point are you like getting into social media and like getting into other beauty habits and like sharing your lifestyle with people?
So skincare for me was always major. Always, always, always. And I was at a point up until a couple of years ago where like also, listen, let's be real. It takes money to have good skin, right? So I was fortunate enough. I did have the luxury of, going doing all the treatments. I also had only one child at the time. And having one child versus two children, women that have children know, I had way more time with one kid. So like it was more so about me during those few years that I had with just one. And I would like pour it all other than the passion that I had for Pilates. I always did have a passion for maintaining skincare. Not necessarily for makeup and things like that, but always I got that from my mom. My mom was always like, you have to make sure that your skin and your face like that's what represents you. She was like, you have to take care of it. You have to take care of yourself. She always told me you have to take care of yourself in that aspect. um, so I guess I kind of got that from her. And up until my brother really got sick again, I kind of like fell off the training wheels. I don't know. It all just kind of came crashing down, and I didn't even put moisturizer on during the day, which to go from having a daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually, like have a set thing for everything I was doing
Yeah.
to crash and burn nothing. I think it was almost on purpose and self sabotage. That
Mhm.
makes any sense. This is also simultaneously the time where me and my husband were separated. I thought we were going to go to the courts and start signing divorce papers. Like this was all at the same time. And again, the only thing that didn't change was Pilates. So even through that, I was like, I don't care what I look like. It's not about what I look like. And even through that, not to say that, you know, how do I say this? It's not, it's not always just about the external, right? Like I
Right.
know that I don't always, I right now don't look my best. And I'm very well aware that my skin is not at its best. But at the same time, I'm like, I feel strong. And for me, beauty equates with strength. And, I may not even be at my best shape in terms of like my Pilates practice. I was at the point where, I mean, if you looked at me from afar, 2 years ago when I first moved back to the US, only 2 years ago I moved. And I literally, when I came back, like just was like, I need to make sure that I'm able to provide for them and I'm able to be a good mom. And that's where I guess like that maternal, because I was separating at this point in my mind, I was. And somehow we just started to like pick up pieces. And like I said, I like lost track. But like, what was your original question?
So like things happen, life
Yeah.
changes, curveballs happen. Like
Yeah.
you never know what's going to happen in life. It's a long life, that we have ahead. So it's like I love that you're saying whatever happens, if it seems like it's the worst thing at the time, and it's okay if you like drop the habits and drop the consistency
Yeah.
of like your beauty regimen. It seems so like superficial to be like, oh, you have to make sure that you're getting your microneedling done and putting your makeup on every day. Well, how am I going to care about that when I have more important things going on?
Yes.
I mean, let's be real,
Yes.
but um it doesn't mean that you have to get so discouraged that you can't just pick it
Correct.
right back up again.
Correct.
And it could be just a little bit at a time, but
Correct. And up until like about when was it, like 2 months ago is when like I feel like it's been 2 months now that like I met you. Maybe it's been three.
yeah, a couple
It's
months.
been a
Yeah.
couple months now
Yeah.
that we met. And you know, I told you about like everything that I've been going through, and I was like, you know what? Even despite everything that's happening, I'm like, I need to find a way to pick back up and like feel me again. Because let's be real, like life is this journey. It's not to say that like my entire journey, this people think that it's like you see that graph all over Instagram where it's like from here to here.
Yes.
That's not the journey. And I'm still on the journey. The journey is like
Yeah.
this
Up,
all over the
down,
place,
sideways,
down and
upside
then back
down.
up.
Yeah.
And I'm like somewhere here right now, but I'm not down here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yes, like to the point of like my skincare regimen and like getting back into what matters to me. Like, I don't care how superficial it sounds or may not sound. I love taking care of myself and my skin. And I'm finally picking up the pieces where I started doing hydrofacials. I started doing, the boxing with you guys. I started doing the Morpheus. And I don't care what anyone says, like, just walking out of here, I'm like, oh my God, this feels amazing. Like whatever, as superficial or non-superficial as that sounds, it feels good within when you know that you're taking care of yourself, right? I'm 37 this year. Like, why not, look the best in my 40s, mentally, physically. Again, it does come from within, but radiate from it comes throughout. It pours in, it's super through your skin. It shows. So yes, taking care of yourself 1,000%.
Yeah, when I talked to you for the first time and you were like, I've got a lot going on, I've had a lot going on recently. I feel like I have been like neglecting this part of my life that,
Yeah.
previously was so important to me. I'm like, honestly, I've heard this version of the same story a million times with just a million little variations. Everybody seems to feel like, on some level, that they need to pick back up or that they need to do more. And I think
Mm-hmm.
it's about like finding some kind of healthy balance where it's like, I am doing certain things for myself. And I think that's a power move.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's a power move as a woman to be like, I'm blocking out the noise. I'm doing the things that I want to do. I'm making the time for myself in the day. No matter if I have a family or if I have another job, I am making the time to prioritize myself, even if it's just a little bit. It sets a tone for who you are to other people, and how you present yourself in the world and how you feel about yourself is like huge for women.
Absolutely.
So whatever that means to you, getting back into whatever it is, a nail salon, a med spa, a hair salon, the gym, all of those things, whatever makes you feel just a little bit better and a little bit more confident about yourself, I say do it.
I think the best thing that you said was,
Yeah.
and I think you know why that is because us as women, we're always like, it needs to be all or nothing. And even me, as much as I
Yeah.
want to sit here and talk about wellness, balance, and everything, for me at the time was, well, I no longer have, the money to do these treatments. So I'm not doing anything. And I was like, who's
Yeah. You're like, forget
punishing?
it.
Yeah.
You're like throwing in the towel, like
Yeah.
it's over.
Yeah. Literally, that was me like throwing in the towel
Yeah.
like a year and a half ago. I was like, ah, I'm done. I'm ruined. Like in that moment of when I thought I was done and ruined, I really wasn't. So just in case people were like, oh, you know, this is this is like my pivotal moment right now where I opened up this studio,
Mhm.
whatever the case is. No, like that doesn't mean a high. It doesn't balance of
Yeah.
of life in all areas. It matters if you can literally stay home, wash your face with a freaking cleanser, and like put on some moisturizer,
Drink your lemon
drink
water.
your lemon
Like,
water, go for a walk.
yeah.
That's also balance,
Yeah.
It's not necessarily always like all of the skincare treatments that go with it. And if you do want that so badly, like I do, I want it badly. I'm gonna work for it. I'm gonna find a way to do it. So
Yeah. I mean, as women, we want it all, and I hope that we can have it all, but
Yeah.
realistically, it's not possible to do everything in one day. And like the busier I get, being an entrepreneur myself and having like multiple spa locations, and family and friends to hang out with and so much to take care of, I feel like, I'm always dropping the ball somewhere. And so I'm constantly reevaluating, what is my day going to look like? What is my plan going to look like for the day? And literally every day that goes by, I'm like, okay, I have to be more and more intentional and more structured and scheduled with my day. Otherwise, the whole entire day will go by and I will miss out realistically on the things that were important to me,
Yep.
because I will do like what needs to be done. And that's great. Obviously, you have to be responsible in
You
this
do.
life and take care of what needs to be taken care of. But
Yep.
it's so easy to be like, well, I just, I got up and I went straight to my laptop and started checking emails, and I didn't maybe go outside and walk for 20 minutes. So, making time to make sure that things happen that you want to do just to feel good for yourself is really huge. I think that's just like the pivotal moment when I was talking about like 25 to 30 and the age. It's like, okay, I kind of mentally am in a place now where I realize how important it is to create those priorities for myself.
1,000%.
Yeah. So I want to go back to also how you said like influencing and everything, where, you didn't really see yourself as an influencer. So I know like your social media account is a lot of just like sharing the real parts of your life, which I think is really cool. There's a lot of people on social media, of course, who are sharing all kinds of different things. There's a lot of women that are doing like the trendy things, and I think it's really cool, and
I
it's
love it.
entertainment.
I love it.
And it's
They're
so
killing it.
entertaining. And I'm like, keep doing what you're doing.
They're
But it's
killing it.
also like there's another side of that. It's kind of like double-edged sword, where it's like I'm like doom scrolling at night and I'm so entertained
Yeah.
by the 50-step routine that you did in the morning. Like, and it's like
Just
the ASMR, like everything sounds really cool. I'm like, wow, your kitchen's so clean. Like,
yeah.
and like it kind of can obviously make you feel bad if you're not keeping up with the Joneses. Like you're not
Thousand
doing
percent.
everything that they're doing. Your house doesn't look like they look. Your makeup isn't put on like how they put, it's like, did you spend
Everything.
an hour every
Every
morning doing
aspect
your
of life.
makeup? Like, no, of course you did not. So, like,
I
how
definitely did not. Yeah.
yeah, like I'm like half the time bringing it in my bag and like finishing it at work. Like,
In the
so
car at the lake.
yeah, I mean, I love that there's really like cool aesthetic things going on and trendy things going
Thousand
on
percent.
Instagram, but then and TikTok. But then you also have to be like, come down to earth. And, it's good to follow people like who have an account like you, are obviously like creating a business, really trendy, really like on brand, on point.
I don't know if I'm trendy.
You really are. You're doing all the things, but you're also like sharing real life,
Yeah.
which I think is important to see other people. It's like inspirational for
Yeah.
sure.
No, I love like I mean, I have an opinion especially when I feel very strongly about something. I'm gonna go on and I'm gonna talk about it. Like, but I have to feel strongly about it. I'm
Mhm.
not someone that just like loves to wake up and Instagram. Like, it's just I don't know if it has to do with my generation, my age. I don't know. I come from a little bit of. I feel like the Instagram generation is like 25 to 35, and I like even though it's only 2 years difference, 35, 37. I'm like, I feel like I'm more towards like my friends are more so in their 40s, like if I'm being honest.
Mhm.
And it's just so difficult for me if I'm being completely transparent, like since we are talking about balance and like
Yeah.
the hecticness and the expectations. And I mean, I hate Instagram.
Yeah.
It's a
I get
fantastic
that.
tool. It's a fantastic tool.
Yeah.
We are so blessed to have it.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even I say anything wrong with it. However, it does put a lot of pressure on all of us in every single aspect of our life. Like you said, from skincare to our makeup to my house. Is everything done properly? Like to parenting. Like
Yeah.
what? Like if I see these like miraculous moms on and I'm like, oh not me.
Yeah. They're doing all these like home crafts, and I
Yeah.
see it too. And I'm like, who
I am
has the
not
time
the
for
craft
that?
mom.
Yeah.
I am not the
I mean, it
craft
looks really
mom.
cool. Good for them.
I'm so jealous of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Everyone like scrolls, and so it's like I'm in the middle of like posting things like for work, like
Mhm.
marketing purposes, obviously,
Yeah.
like making a silly little reel or like posting something educational. And I find myself just like, it's so distracting. And then you just start scrolling, and then So in the middle of the day, I think we don't really realize how many times we're just hit subconsciously with things that we should be doing. And
Absolutely.
we're really like the first generation, honestly, to be like hit with that. Like our parents were
Yes,
not hit with that at
correct.
all. So it was only like, I guess what they saw on TV and like on a billboard or like a magazine.
Yep.
And
I
for
think we
us, it's
are the
every second of the day.
I think we are the very, very, very first generation of social media because I was in 12th grade
Hmm.
when I was a senior when Facebook came out,
Yeah.
going into college. So there was, I'm also very grateful that we are the first generation because we also got to experience life completely without it, which I feel like these these generations, I hate to sound old, but these generations will never understand what it means to actually
To
just
like
only
just live
have,
your life.
yeah, just live your life. And they're like, what do you mean? They
Be
literally,
happy with what you have and just like blissfully unaware of like
literally,
what the rest of
one
the
of my
world is doing.
neighbors, she's like this 25-year-old girl, and she's like, what does that mean? She literally like
Yeah.
to me, she's like, what do you mean? She's like, but what do you mean? I'm like, exactly. Like, I'm not even
Yeah.
getting into
I
the whole
don't know. Nobody
conversation.
knows what that's gonna be like, that pressure, but we're able to identify it because, like you said, we've seen it without,
Yeah,
and now we feel the pressure and we're like, wow, this is a big shift very in the past like 10 years. And when it comes to beauty and all things
yeah.
lifestyle for women, everyone's a lifestyle influencer now. And that's such a broad term. And that, so it's like, what is lifestyle? What is
Well,
that supposed to be?
that's why, do you know how many people were like, so I did this influencer event back in February. It was for Valentine's Day. There was this girl that was another influencer. She came to me and she's like, funny enough, as bad as my skin I feel looks like, she's like, what do you do for your skin? I'm like, nothing. She was like, why don't you post it all online, like your whole routine? And I was like, her just saying it gave me so much anxiety. I was
Yeah.
like, no way. I'm like, no way. I already do, like, just doing the Pilates part
Hmm.
already feels like so much.
Yeah.
That's all I really do. I only do Pilates. Another one was like, why don't you post your kids and what you do with them? And I'm just like, you want to tell me that I have to have this camera on from the moment I wake up
Yeah.
to the moment I fall asleep, which people do,
Some
and
people do.
more respect to them. I I've tried. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try because there's quote unquote millions to be made in a Target run, like with your kids. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I can't do it.
Yeah. It's a lot of pressure.
I couldn't do it. Like I felt like number one, I also feel like I'm not keeping my kids' privacy either. Like my
Yeah.
son is gonna be 11 years old this the next week. He turns 11. My daughter's gonna be 4. What if, in 10 years they're like, Mom, why did you do that? Like I think about this. I think about their individualism and
Yeah.
them as their own personal human being. And I don't think that some people think about those things, which I'm
We
not here to
are the first
judge.
generation again to have to kind of think about that though, to be honest.
I
It's
had
like,
to think about it first.
yeah.
I took it for a second. I used to post when I was younger. I posted my son a lot more. And I'll never forget there was this time around like when he turned 5 or 6. And I remember I put the phone in front of his face again, like to take a picture, whatever. He was like, no, Mom. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, wow. I was like, never mind. And then I tried again. The next, I was like, maybe he's just not in the mood. And he kept saying no. Like it was a firm no. And I was like, I mean, he is a child, but I was like, he has his own feelings and he has a right. And if it's no, it's no,
Yeah, of course.
And my daughter is the complete opposite. And I'm doing like something on Instagram for her, like if she sees me doing Pilates, she goes right in front of the camera and she's like,
Yeah.
wait, she's like, me, catch me. And I'm like, okay, relax.
She's a star in the making.
She's the star in the making. But
No
yeah,
confidence issues there. Yeah.
taking it.
So I want to talk about, mentioned that you were just at an influencer event. So you have built so to speak, like a brand for yourself. And this is like something that is again just happening in the last maybe 5 to 10 years,
Yep,
where people are realizing that they can create a brand just from themselves,
just their
their
name.
name,
Yep.
things that they're doing in their life, things that they're passionate about. Literally, you could create a brand just by, this is how I clean my house
Yep,
every day. I mean,
correct.
I've seen it all,
Yep.
obviously. So you kind of mentioned that you did that without even like really realizing that you were doing that, which is great. And then at what point did you realize, I want to build a community out of this?
A year and a half ago when I really started to I had like dabbed in it, but I really started to do it about a year and a half ago. So like I had started like creating some sort of content videos, et cetera, et cetera. I had always been like doing these little videos, but I really kind of like polished it up, I should say, about a year and a half ago. And that's when I started hiring like an actual content creator to do it for like to do it with me, to do it for me, however you want to say it. Um and I was very fortunate in Europe to work with some of the best and they've been awarded like major awards and things like that in Europe. But when I came here, I was like, everyone's a content creator.
Yeah.
And no offense, but 90% of them suck. And really and truly,
Yeah, I mean, anyone can do it, and a lot of people think they're gonna, like, get started, and they don't really follow through with it, and
these video creators
yeah.
that people are paying for, I'm just like, I'm again very fortunate to know what the difference is.
Mhm.
And I had worked with like a couple that I just was happy with when I came to the US. And I was like, I don't have, the funds to be able to hire the best of the best
Yeah,
either.
when you're getting started too, it's, like, it's expensive, and you try to
Extreme.
just DIY, and what can I do with my own iPhone, and that's
Yeah,
fine,
in the
but
beginning, right?
yeah.
And then I was very fortunate. I came across a couple of really good content creators. And my current one, I absolutely love him. We completely vibe. It is so important with the people that you work with to vibe, as you know.
Yeah.
And he just, since, I've created those connections, whenever I do anything for Pilates, it just feels so much easier. Like it just does. But yeah, I forgot where we're going with
So
this one.
I know how important it is to have to create a sense of community, especially
Yes.
realistically from a business perspective in the beginning, but I've grown to love it so much that I've just grown into the person that is just in charge of hosting events and throwing parties. And I mean, we literally just had a party in the spa like 2 nights ago.
That's
And I do like the theme and the decorations, and I invite all the girls, and I meet so many new people. And it's just like organic networking, and
yeah.
you end up just meet people through that one thing leads to the next, and then you just it's kind of like a spider web.
Well, that's what happened when I started to release the videos.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
didn't realize that, all of these women, which I always release them from a perspective of you can be strong. You can do anything you want. Like it wasn't necessarily even just about Pilates. It was just like pick your one thing and you can be the best at it. And my day in and day out in my classes, the mantra was if you can do this, the same principle when I tell you to plank for 3 minutes in my class, I'd be like, I teach you to do this, you can take the same tenacity and apply it to any aspect of your life.
Mhm.
And that's where partnered with my videos online got super popular to the point where I started throwing events, doing the retreats, garnering this community, cultivating it without necessarily purposefully doing it. Does that make sense? Like
Yeah, just doing it because it felt
just if it
right
felt
for
right
you.
versus it just coming from oh, I want to do this. It was kind of just like, I want to help you out.
Yeah, of course.
And then the person next to you was like, oh, I also need help. I'm like, sure, I want to help you out too.
Yeah, and I have to be honest, I feel like that feels different than sometimes people are, I think in South Florida here, like hosting fitness and wellness events. And I love it. I love that we're like, getting busier and busier, and there's events
Oh,
all the
yeah.
time. I think it's awesome. But there are some events that I feel like are so businessy and so business oriented that there's, that it's like a forced community where I feel like you've done a really great job of like organically building it, and you're actually
Totally organic.
friends and
Mm-hmm.
connecting and networking with people who come to your events.
Yep.
So it's like a meaningful relationship, which is really cool. Something that, like, on that note, like, I think personally, if I were to give any advice just on my experience in the past year when it comes to networking from a business perspective, if you're wanting to start any, like, again, if it just starts as like a side hustle, whatever phase you're in your business making, don't be afraid to create the community around your business, whatever it is, whatever you stand for.
Mm-hmm.
Get out there in the community, network yourself, create a brand for
Thousand
yourself,
percent.
figure out what it is that you are going to say loud and proud. Like, whatever your message is, you have to put it out there, and you have to be loud about it. Nobody else is going to do that for you.
No,
And find the confidence immediately. You can't, be timid about it and kind of ease your way into it.
no.
Really have to step out and be like, this is my brand, this is what we're doing, this is what we stand for, and you guys should all come and see what we do. So
Yep.
you network, you create a community, get creative about doing it, but don't be afraid to like host events and do creative things because people really love that. And I mean, I know like all of our clients at the spa have been really receptive to the creative, fun things that really realistically don't have much to do with med spa itself, but
A
it's
thousand
just,
percent.
it's more about the fact that we're sharing knowledge as women with each other. We're getting out on a Wednesday night to just hang out and talk with each other and just relate to each other. So that's what the form of community means to
It's
me.
so funny that you say that. We were just on a conference call, me, my ops manager, and one of my girls, and we were like, what if on Thursday nights, like after class, we did kind of like a social hour, like at the end of the last year? Because at the end of the day, we're so much on these screens that I think we're coming to a point where we don't want to be on these screens at all. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
And
does.
like whatever you guys did on a Wednesday night, I'm positive like the women, like you said, maybe it had nothing to do with med spa things, but all these women come and they have a commonality. They love to take care of their skin. And now you've created a friendship through that. Through
Yeah.
something as small as you opening up a med spa, talking about skincare, helping these women feel more confident in themselves. You've created a community of women that now just want to hang out and have some drinks together. How
Yeah.
awesome is that?
Sometimes it's just that simple and it
It's
just
that
breeds
simple.
something that is like so much more special and so much bigger than that.
Exactly.
So, on kind of a closing note, what would you say that out of everything that have learned so far,
So
but you're
far.
you're early on in your journey, you just opened your studio. So
Yes.
what would you give yourself like advice if you could go back and talk to yourself when you were like 18 years old?
I love that question. And I love what you were saying about quote unquote confidence. Even if you don't have the confidence, right? Because I always seemed like I did. And even today, I'll have times where like I maybe seem like I do, but I don't. I want to tell that younger self is forget how you feel. Just go and do it.
Mhm.
Forget how you feel. Just go and do it. And sometimes trial and error is enough. Because I think that, I'm positive, even for you, your upbringing, I'm positive your parents wanted the best for you, right? Think about that child, right? They were prepping you for this world. And in prepping you, they accidentally put all of this insecurity in you, right? By telling you, you have to sit up straight. You have to, something as small as that. You have to eat with a fork and a knife this way. You have to keep whatever it is, like those little minute things that you would think that now when I'm out in the world, if I don't do it exactly like that, then do I not amount enough? Am I not enough if I don't do it that way?
Mhm.
Forget everything. Forget everything you've learned and just go out and try and let see where it takes you. See where it takes you. There's no rules. There's zero rules. All these rules that are implemented all over the world, there are zero rules to finding out who you truly are meant to become. That's what I
Yes.
would say to her.
So the message is stay messy. Life is messy. Just keep moving. Find the one thing that makes you feel pretty,
Yeah.
accomplished, confident, so that you can have the power to get to the next step in life, basically. I think that that's really a testament to everything that you've been through. We have a lot in common, by the way, that I didn't mention. So I didn't know you were Eastern European, and my mom is Eastern European. Her family's from Slovakia.
Really?
Yes. So I actually
Yeah.
really relate to, a lot of things that you're saying, obviously. And the stubbornness. I think that that's, something that I didn't realize about you. And I think we could really relate to that. And we have similar
That's so
stories
nice.
actually about, wanting to do the best for our parents, like any kid does,
Yeah.
obviously. And you want to do the best for yourself and find what it means to be successful. You're 25 or 28 or 30 and you realize like this isn't really like the full picture for me. This is not where I'm settling down. I'm
Mhm.
going to do other things. You kind of uprooted everything. I kind of have a similar story to that. So
That's so awesome.
here we are, skincare and
Yeah.
Pilates and happy as a clam.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
love that. That's great. I want to talk about where you're at right now, present day. You just opened your own studio. How has that
Yeah.
process been for you?
So actually, like it's obviously has its challenges, as you know, but I've never been so fulfilled ever in my life. It takes everything from within you to, number one, get the confidence to do this, right? Because there are so many other Pilates studios, there's so many other businesses, right? Um, to say to yourself, like, I think I know what I'm doing. I think I can do this. And having the community that I have around me, if I'm really honest, it was my community of girls that were rallying around me for months. They were like, you should open up your own Pilates studio. And I was like, no, I'm fine where I am right now. And they'd be like, but you really should, because like anywhere I've ever gone, no one does it the way you do it. And I'm just like, okay. So, fast forward to opening up 2 months ago. It sounds like fast forward, but I know all the crap I've gone
Yeah.
through to get through that
Not really
fast
fast
forward,
forward,
not
but
really
okay.
fast forward, but fast forward to opening up the doors. I've never felt more tired, more fulfilled, like happier in my entire life in terms of that. Now, that doesn't mean to say, because I don't want to create a false sense of, oh, I'm always happy and this is great.
Yeah.
No, I feel fulfilled. I'm content. And I think that that's really the word that I should be using. I'm content, because happy is this false sense of always waking up like elated and excited for something that might not necessarily be the emotion, but contentment in the sense that I know that I have created a community that believes in me and believes in the instructors that I have certified and instructed, and believe in my method of Pilates, which is a little bit more challenging than your day to day Pilates that you see in other studios. I think that's what has separated me from the rest. Talking about the name Sculpt, there were a few clients throughout the last couple of years that were like, they should call you Michelangelo. And I was like, why? Oh my God, this one girl made me laugh so much. She goes, they should call you Michelangelo. I was like, why? She goes, because you're sculpting all these bodies out here. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, I love it. So, and then another girl made the exact same connection, like that didn't even know each other within a few months. And I was like, it has to be sculpt. Like it has to be sculpted, whatever. So I started doing my research on the name, and I was like, I don't want it. There were other studios that were named Sculpt, and I'm very much a Leo to the core, that I have to be an original. I have to be above and beyond, whatever. So the Leo in me was like, you have to be like, have an original name. And if you look up the name Sculpt, the way it's spelled, SQLPT, there is no other Sculpt in the nation or internationally. So if it is after this conversation, I was the first one to it.
For
It's
the record.
noted for the record, which is why the Instagram handle was available. That's how you know, I feel like, right?
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, we're just getting started. This is, like you said, I definitely feel that I am young in my field. When I say young in my field, yes, I know that most of the girls are like 20 years old and just starting out their Pilates careers, but young in my field of entrepreneurship and business ownership. It takes a lot more than just knowing Pilates to run this ship. And I definitely thank Louis Vuitton a lot for my business acumen, for teaching me the structure that I have implemented within my current business, 1,000% to them. I also know that I'm at the, like, just scratching the surface, because I know what's to come. I can't share just yet, but I also know what's to come. So I'm 37. I think the statistic that I recently read was 46 is the average year old of the person that opens up their first business. So I think I'm a decade ahead of the game. And I hope that what this, next chapter brings is number one, number one, in my opinion, because I know I'll ruffle up some feathers saying this, is teaching true Pilates instructors what that means to be a Pilates instructor. Um, it's not like, I feel like when you take on this role, you should understand that it's not just you're taking on this role from a physical aspect. There's so much more to being this person. I never knew that I was going to be a therapist and 10 million other hats that I would be wearing. That's if you really want to be an expert in your field, right? If this is just something that is an interim to your next stepping stone, sure, why not? But if this is something, because I've had so many girls ask me this question of what does it take to do what you do? And the honest to God truth is it takes a lot. It takes a lot of grit, a lot of days, even when you don't want to get up. Because there's yesterday, I had a day where I was spiraling. Yesterday, I had a day where I was like, still questioning myself. What am I doing? Why am I here? Yeah. You're still gonna get those days. Like, there's no way that those days are behind you.
Oh,
But
no.
I also feel like those days are what challenge you, what
Yeah.
make you start to question, well, how can I be better? It's all about how you twist it, how you change the
That
perspective.
is like being an entrepreneur in a nutshell. It's just constantly waking up, questioning yourself. But that's how you know you're growing.
Yes.
And that's how you know that you're pushing yourself. And you have to push yourself.
Yep.
Every day is a new challenge, especially when a business is as new as it is for you.
Mm-hmm.
I just went through like a year and a half of that myself. And I know how challenging it can be. And it's like, I don't know when that's ever going to end. I'm actually of the opinion now that I think it's never going to end.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is the reality of being an entrepreneur, and
Yep.
I think you embrace it
Yep.
and you just look at that as like a positive thing that's what you take and hold on to
I was
motivate
just
you.
gonna say, like that, how do we start looking at it as a point of excitement versus a
Exactly.
point of worry? Because think about it, not everyone, a lot of these people have their 9 to 5 jobs that some of them love to be there, some of them don't. And I realized that I hated that monotony. Like I hated, yes, there was stability in it,
Of
absolutely,
course, yeah.
but I hated it. And that's when I knew that I wasn't meant for it. And I had to find what I was meant for. And here we are. We are meant for this world. We are meant for this trajectory, this journey, but we have to take it with the good and the right.
Yeah.
There are going to be the days where, like you said, like I'm spiraling into like, where am I going into this deep, dark hole?
Yeah.
And then I was like, I got a message and I posted it on Instagram yesterday. Like there was a moment where I was living and posting at the same time. I was spiraling. I was on my couch. Like, I don't even know where the thoughts were coming from because it didn't necessarily come from a bad moment. It was just me in my head, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a client of mine, like, randomly messaged me and she was like, you changed my life. And I was like, okay, this is the purpose. Forget everything else. I'm like,
Yeah.
this is the purpose. We're back on track.
Back on track.
Back
Yeah.
on track. I changed one life. I have many more to change. And so whenever again, I get down that dark hole. I think to myself, I have to remember what is my purpose? Why did you open up a med spa? Why did I open up a Pilates studio? It had to have been something beyond the point of a hot body and a hot face,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Really and truly, it has to be something beyond that
Of
to
course.
make you get up in the morning and thrive and grow. And if you want to grow, the point of growing, you better hope that you're challenged every day and questioning yourself every day. Because if you're not uncomfortable, the moment that you're comfortable is when the growth stops.
Yeah. Then this
So,
isn't for you.
no, this is
This isn't
not for
like
you.
I have days where I am like wearing so many different hats, they say, but I am like cleaning out the back room
Mm-hmm.
cabinets. I am organizing, the schedule for the week. I am putting a marketing plan together. I am ordering inventory.
Yeah.
I am meeting with corporate. I'm meeting with our staff. And I just feel like, where did the day go? And sometimes I'm like, I don't even know. I know I did a lot of stuff today, but I don't even know like what ended up happening. So some days are definitely like you're in a washing machine.
Yep.
But I love that you pointed out that the client texted you because for me that happens when I take a minute and just be in the med spa and I just am in the lobby and I'm actually talking to clients. I'm actually talking to real people
Yep.
who are getting real results and I'm talking to them about their life, what's going on in their life, their treatments, their results. And that is really what makes this business for me.
A thousand
That's what's
percent.
fulfilling. That's what I love about this. So those are the encouraging and exciting stories that make no 2 days the same, which is exciting.
And
So
notice the commonality I feel like in any business, in
mhm,
every business, is human connection.
it is.
It's human connection because we have an auto shop. It's cars. It has nothing to do with Pilates, skincare. It has nothing to
Yeah.
do with it, right? I know that my husband operates from a place of, man, like you saved my car. Like I'm so happy. Like thank you so much. And my husband comes home and he shares that story. He doesn't share the story about how I don't know anything about cars, so I can't even
Yeah.
like I don't know how shiny a part is or whatever, right? It's
Yeah.
not about the thing. It's about the human connection that was created that day.
Yeah.
Same thing for you, same thing for me, same thing for every business.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you so much. This was
Yeah,
amazing.
thanks.
Thanks for being so like open and sharing everything. I'm so
Thank you.
excited for you. You have like obviously a
Thank you.
lot more to come. You
From
are
your
just
mouth to God's
scratching
ears.
the surface for sure.
Thank you.
So if you're in the Fort Lauderdale area or in South Florida, definitely come check out Sculpt. I love that it's unique. Not only the name, but the story that goes behind it, which is your
Thank
whole
you.
story, is unique in itself. And you put that and you translated that through your brand, and that's what's going to make you hugely successful. So
Thank you. I appreciate
good
that.
things to come.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for listening. Until the next
Thank you,
time.
guys.